I call first Mr. Davies. Mr. Davies, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, may I first of all put on record my very deep sadness and shock at the tragic and brutal murder of my friend and colleague Jo Cox, MP, who was killed on Thursday. She was a great politician and a proud mother and a great person, and I very much hope that the prejudice, hate and violence that killed her won't dim the human rights, freedom and democracy that she stood so gallantly for. I want to talk today briefly about the rise of popular nationalism, as the Secretary-General put it, because in the run-up to the referendum in the UK, we see that the verdict of economists and businesses is universally in favour of staying in, and yet these are dismissed as biased claims. Even the Governor of the Bank of England is dismissed as biased by those who would whip up the engine of immigration fear to try and get us to leave Europe. In Britain, we've seen the Conservative government introduce austerity and cuts specifically targeted at the poorest, explained by the former leader of the Conservatives, Ian Duncan Smith, because they don't vote or they vote Labour. And what has now happened is respected figures like former Mayor Boris Johnson have stood forward and suggested, amongst others, that foreigners are basically taking our jobs and services when in fact they contribute £2.5 billion a year net to our economy. We've seen these tactics of divide and rule in the mayoral election in London, where the now Mayor Sadiq Khan was described as a terrorist threat. And of course, in the history of Europe, we've seen minorities blamed for poverty in the past, whipping up a frenzy of fear that unleashed the dark forces that can and did lead to fascism in Germany and beyond. And of course, Boris Johnson is only a late convert to be anti-European. His family are in favour of it, but he knows that the majority of the Conservative members are old people who are sceptical about Europe, and he will want to get the Conservative crown at any cost. So what we're seeing in Britain is ultimately the risk of ripping up the fragile cloth of diversity that's so well respected across the globe in order that he can snatch the Conservative crown. These are dark days, in my view, for Britain, and I very much hope that we will turn towards spreading wealth and tolerance and cooperation and an open hand of friendship towards each other and across Europe, instead of the clenched fist of resistance and breaking free of Europe and breaking up Britain. I agree with the proposition in front of us: no hate, no fear, and instead we want to see love and hope, and I very much hope we'll be part of the European family after Thursday.
Thank you very much.